Welcome to today's transformation dive into peeling back the layers of what's really holding back your financial and personal growth. If you're like most people, you look at your bank account sometimes, and there's this quiet, maybe not so quiet, sigh. It's stagnant, or maybe it's inching forward slower than a snail trying to run a marathon. Then you hop onto social media, and bam, highlight reels everywhere. People talking about massive investment wins, scoring huge promotions, launching viral side hustles. They make it look like they just woke up one morning, took a single giant leap, and landed squarely in Easy Street. You compare that glittering online reality to your own attempts, the drastic budget that felt like wearing a financial straitjacket and lasted about 3 days. The intense side hustle blitz that had you burning out faster than a trick candle. The complicated investment strategy someone recommended that you just didn't quite grasp, so you bailed. You convince yourself what you really need is a breakthrough, a big win, a sudden flood of motivation that changes everything overnight. You're waiting for that lightning bolt moment, the financial equivalent of a superhero origin story, where you suddenly gain the power to conquer debt or build wealth instantly. If you're tired of waiting for that magical moment and ready for real, actionable money and mindset content that cuts through the noise, hit that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people just like you who are ready to build real flow. Also, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, or what small money habit has actually made the biggest positive difference for you. I love hearing your wins. All right, enough setting the stage. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. This idea that you need a big leap is, quite frankly, the most pervasive and damaging lie in personal finance and personal growth. It's a myth fueled by survivor bias online. You only see the big wins, rarely the thousands of failed tiny attempts. And our own human tendency to seek the path of least perceived resistance. Better to wait for the lottery than start saving $5 a day, right? Except the lottery ticket is literally lighting money on fire, and that $5 a day is compounding quietly in the background. This lie makes you believe that unless you can overhaul your entire life, financial or otherwise, in one dramatic gesture, it's not even worth starting. It paralyzes you. You stare up at the financial mountain you want to climb, and because you're convinced you need to bungee jump from the peak, you never even take the first step on the trail. You dismiss the small steps as insignificant. What's the point of saving $10 this week when your debt is $10,000? What's the point of reading for 15 minutes when you need a whole new skill set? You see people's finished masterpiece and despair that your single brushstroke is pointless. But every masterpiece is just an accumulation of countless single brushstrokes. The surprising truth is that consistent, almost boring, small actions compound into massive results over time. It's the financial equivalent of saying one push-up is useless. Maybe. But one push-up every single day is a habit that builds towards significant strength. While you're fixated on waiting for the financial avalanche to sweep you to the top, the ground is actually shifting underneath you. One tiny grain of sand, one tiny pebble at a time. These are the small, often unseen, decisions and habits that truly shape your trajectory. Not the drastic budget you quit, but the sustainable habit of checking your spending for 5 minutes daily. Not the burnout hustle, but consistently investing 1 extra hour a week into learning a new skill. The cause and effect here is clear. Waiting for a leap causes stagnation and disappointment. Taking small, consistent steps, even when they feel pointless, creates momentum, builds discipline, and leverages the undeniable power of compounding, not just financially, but in your habits and your mindset too. The core concept here is shifting your focus from the dramatic outcome to the sustainable process. It's deciding that the power isn't in the size of the initial action, but its repeatability. Don't aim for a leap. Aim for the next small, deliberate step. Try this for a week. Pick just one tiny financial habit you know you should do, like tracking your coffee spending, unsubscribing from one store email list that tempts you, or transferring $10 into savings, and commit to doing only that one thing every single day for 7 days. Don't try to change everything else. See how it feels to succeed at just one small, simple action consistently. This one simple shift, from seeking the leap to valuing the step, changed everything for me and countless others. Moving past the initial setup, let's dive into a force so fundamental, so powerful, it underpins almost every success story you'll ever hear, whether it's about money or mastering a skill. We're talking about compounding, the invisible force. Now, your brain probably went straight to compound interest, like money making money. And yes, that's a perfect example of compounding. But that's just one facet of a much bigger, universal principle. Forget the bank account for a second. Think about compounding as the principle where tiny, consistent actions create disproportionately large results over time. It's the ultimate snowball effect. You start with a small snowflake rolling downhill, and if it keeps rolling, gathering mass and speed, it becomes an unstoppable force. This force doesn't just apply to your money. It applies to your habits, your skills, your knowledge, your relationships, and even your health. People often underestimate the power of this force, especially in the early stages. They try something small, maybe saving $5 a week, reading for 10 minutes a day, or doing one extra sales call. And after a week, or even a month, they look around and think, okay, nothing's happening. This is pointless. They see no immediate, dramatic return on that small effort, and they give up. This is the critical mistake. They fail to grasp that the initial progress is near invisible, like a seed pushing roots underground. You can't see the growth above the surface, but the base for exponential expansion is being built beneath. You don't need a massive engine to start. You need a consistent spark. That tiny spark, applied repeatedly, eventually ignites something huge. Here's a surprising fact. The difference between someone who achieves massive success and someone who stays stagnant is rarely about one massive, heroic action. It's almost always about the relentless accumulation of small, smart actions that compound over years. Think about it. Saving $10 a day feels insignificant. But over a year, that's $3,650. Over 10 years, compounding at even a modest rate, you're talking about a significant sum, built almost invisibly. Or reading just 10 pages a day. In a year, that's over 3,600 pages. Enough for dozens of books, turning you into an expert in your field, one nearly undetectable page at a time. This one habit of focusing on tiny, consistent actions, rather than waiting for motivation for big leaps, changed everything for me. It shifted my focus from dramatic results to sustainable process. Cause and effect here are simple. Small, consistent action, cause, plus time, accelerant, equals exponential growth effect. The magic happens in the middle, in the seemingly boring, invisible period. It's like training for a marathon. The first few weeks feel brutal, and you don't look or feel much different. but you're building the foundation, brick by brick. Ask yourself, where in your life, money, health, learning, relationships, are you currently underestimating the power of tiny, consistent efforts? Where are you giving up too soon because the growth isn't visible? Perhaps related to building those tiny habits or finding consistency. Okay, so we've talked about the transition from previous section, e.g., setting goals or understanding your financial baseline. But what about the how? What are the actual gears turning this whole financial machine? This is where we confront a surprisingly powerful truth. Your financial state isn't usually the result of one or two massive, earth-shattering decisions. It's not typically the giant mortgage or the perfect stock pick that defines your long-term trajectory. It is, overwhelmingly, the sum total of your daily habits. Think about it. The seemingly insignificant decision to buy that $5 coffee every single workday. The choice to scroll mindlessly on social media for an hour instead of using that time to learn a new skill or plan your budget. The habit of letting bills pile up until the last minute, potentially incurring late fees or impacting your credit score. Individually, in the moment, none of these actions feel like a big deal. They're tiny, almost invisible choices layered into the fabric of your everyday life. But compounded over weeks, months, and crucially, years, they are incredibly powerful. They define your trajectory, for better or worse. Let's run the numbers on that coffee habit. $5 a day, 5 days a week, that's $25. Multiply that by 52 weeks in a year, and you're looking at $1,300 spent just on that one item. Extend that over 10 years, that's $13,000. If you included weekends or pricier drinks, you easily hit the $18,000 mentioned in the prompt. And that's before you even consider what that money could have earned if you had saved or invested it instead. It's like having a tiny leak in a pipe that you ignore. It doesn't seem like much water at first, but give it enough time and it will flood the basement. This reveals a surprising insight, a true myth bust for many. Your small leaks, those consistent, often unconscious daily expenditures or time sinks, are likely draining more from your potential wealth over time than your big, infrequent expenses or decisions. We stress about the rent or the car payment, but often overlook the cumulative impact of the daily drip, drip, drip of small habits. The reframing here is vital. Start seeing your daily routine not just as life happening to you, but as a powerful financial compounding machine you are actively programming with every choice. Are you programming it for growth or for slow erosion? Every brick you lay or don't lay builds the foundation of your financial house. The cause is the habit. The effect is the long-term financial state. It's simple cause and effect played out day after day. So, how do you start to take control of this powerful machine? It begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't see. Here's the actionable step for this section. The one habit that changed everything for me in understanding my own leaks and potential. For the next 3 days, track every single dollar you spend. Every single one. The pack of gum, the online subscription you forgot about, the parking meter, the snack from the vending machine, the quick grocery run where you grabbed extras, that in-app purchase. Use an app on your phone. There are many free and effective ones, or go old school with a small notebook you keep in your pocket, or even a simple spreadsheet on your computer. The tool doesn't matter as much as the discipline of capturing the data. The crucial part is to not judge yourself during this process. Just observe. Just record. This act of observation builds the habit of awareness, the absolute first step to conscious compounding. It shows you where your money is actually going, revealing the unconscious programming of your financial machine. Once you have that awareness, you can start to make conscious choices about which habits serve your goals and which ones need reprogramming. This leads us directly into the next step: how to not just track, but to understand and then redirect those flows. Okay, so we've talked about managing what you have, the flow part of Earn Flow Zone. Now let's shift gears to the earn side, but maybe not in the way you think. It's about building what I call the earning snowball. See, most people view their income potential like a fixed ceiling, maybe with occasional raises tossed down like crumbs from a giant's table. They think, okay, this is what I make, this is my lane. But your ability to earn money, it's not fixed at all. It's a skill set, just like cooking, playing a sport, or mastering a video game. And skills? They can be compounded. Think about it. We often spend hours scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or just existing. What if you repurposed just a tiny fraction of that time, spending just 15 to 20 minutes a day, deliberately learning something new related to your current field, or maybe even dipping your toes into a completely new in-demand skill? Feels almost laughably insignificant in the short term. You won't magically become a coding wizard, a marketing genius, or a financial analyst overnight, or even in a week. The initial progress is microscopic. Like trying to roll a tiny snowball in fresh powder, it barely picks up anything. But here's the surprising insight, the kind that makes you do a double take. That seemingly insignificant 20 minutes a day, over a year, that adds up to over 120 hours of focused learning. Let that sink in. 120 hours. That's often equivalent to multiple college-level courses, earning a significant certification, or completing extensive training programs. Many people wait, sometimes for years, hoping their job will pay for expensive training or send them to a fancy conference. They put their earning growth entirely in someone else's hands. Meanwhile, consistent, self-directed micro-learning, that 15 to 20 minutes you steal back from distractions, is often far more impactful, directly relevant to your goals, and incredibly accessible thanks to the internet. You don't need permission. You just need consistency. Your knowledge doesn't just add up. It compounds. Each new piece of information connects with the last, building a richer, more valuable understanding. This compounding effect makes you inherently more valuable in the marketplace, naturally opening up new opportunities, roles, and projects that inevitably lead to higher earning potential over time. It's the tiny snowball rolling downhill, picking up speed and mass with every rotation until it's a force. This one habit changed everything for me. The moment I stopped waiting for external validation or training budgets and started investing just a few minutes daily in myself. It wasn't glamorous. Often it was just reading an article, watching a short tutorial, or practicing a specific technique. But the cumulative effect is undeniable. Now here's the prompt for action. Don't overthink this. Identify just one skill. Could be something specific in your job, a software you want to learn, a communication technique, or the basics of freelancing that you honestly believe could boost your earning potential. Just one. Today, right now, commit to learning or practicing it for just 15 minutes. Not an hour, not even 30. Just 15. Find a free YouTube tutorial. Read a chapter of a relevant ebook, do a quick online quiz, or try a practice problem. Try this for a week, 15 minutes, 5 days. See how easy it is to start rolling that tiny earning snowball. Okay, let's talk about building your very own tiny money engine. You see, when you first hear about compounding, you probably think of massive investment accounts, portfolios growing exponentially, and people retiring on beaches. It feels abstract, maybe even a little distant. Then you look at your own situation. Maybe you're just starting out, trying to scrape together a few dollars after the bills are paid. The classic advice is invest, but starting with a small amount. Honestly, it can feel utterly pointless. It's like putting $50 into a massive global index fund and feeling like you're throwing a single pebble into the vast, overwhelming ocean. Why even bother? You can't buy anything significant with those early returns, and frankly, watching the market bounce around, those few dollars don't seem to do much at all. The inertia is real. The thought of starting small can be a huge barrier. But here's where we tap into some surprising insights from behavioral finance. The study of why people make the financial choices they do. It turns out that in the early stages, the habit of consistently investing or saving any amount, no matter how small, is actually far more critical than the amount itself. Think of it like starting a fitness routine. Lifting a 2-pound weight feels insignificant when you dream of lifting 200 pounds, right? But showing up, doing the reps, building the habit of exercise is what builds the muscle memory, overcomes the couch inertia, and primes your body for heavier weights later. Your financial life works exactly the same way. This tiny habit builds your financial muscle, making the bigger actions feel less daunting down the road. More importantly, it gets the most powerful force in the universe, compound growth, working for you from day one. Now let's be clear about how compounding really works, because it's not just about interest earning interest, though that's part of it. The real magic is that the rate of growth, while remaining the same percentage, accelerates in terms of dollar amount as your principal grows. Going back to our pebble in the ocean, your first $50 might earn you a few cents in a month or year. Hardly thrilling. But that tiny pebble isn't alone forever. By consistently adding more pebbles, your collection starts to grow into a small pile, then eventually a solid boulder. At this point, that same percentage return is now calculated on a much larger boulder. The dollars generated become significantly bigger. You might earn $5 on $100, which is nice, but earning 5% on $10,000 yields $500. Same rate, dramatically different result, because the base is bigger. Your tiny money engine is designed to build that base. This is where the rubber meets the road, where insight becomes action. Instead of waiting until you have enough, a moving target that often means never, let's ignite that engine right now. Try this for a week. Automate a small transfer. Seriously, any amount you can genuinely spare this week. Maybe it's $10, maybe it's $20, even $5 if that's what feels manageable. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to a dedicated savings account, or even better, a low-cost index fund or ETF. The key is to make it recurring and automatic. Set it and forget it. This single tiny habit bypasses your conscious decision-making process, overcomes inertia, and ensures that pebble gets added to your collection every single pay period or week. This automated process is the initial spark for your tiny money engine, ensuring time and consistency start working their compounding magic on your behalf, turning those insignificant pebbles into a growing boulder over time. It's the cause effect. Tiny, consistent action causes exponential growth potential down the line. You've heard the stories, right? The overnight success, the lottery winner career move, the person who just happened to be in the right place at the right time for that massive jump in income. It's easy to look at that and think, okay, that's how it works. I just need my big break. You wait for the dream job offer, the product to go viral, the lucky connection that changes everything. But here's the surprising truth that most people miss. Significant income growth isn't usually a single massive leap. It's the cumulative result of consistently building value, layer upon layer, over time. Think about it like compounding interest, but for your skills, your relationships, and your understanding of your market. When you consistently deliver slightly more than expected, maybe you proactively solve a problem no one asked you to, or you go the extra mile on a project. That's a small deposit into your value account. When you build genuine relationships, not just transactional ones, you're compounding your network effect. When you dedicate time to improving key skills, you're compounding your expertise. When you dig deep to truly understand your industry or customers, you're compounding your knowledge. Nobody becomes indispensable by doing just what's required and then waiting for a pat on the back or a formal promotion request. That's like expecting to get ripped just by showing up at the gym and watching other people lift weights. The people whose income skyrockets are often the ones who consistently, almost invisibly, compound their value until they become so vital, so valuable, that a higher income level becomes the only logical next step, or even better, new opportunities actively seek them out. They aren't chasing breaks, they're attracting them because they've built an undeniable gravitational pull of competence and contribution. Waiting for permission is far less effective than simply becoming the person whose value commands more. This isn't about being a workaholic. It's about strategic, consistent value creation. It's understanding that income is a reflection of value delivered. So, if you want your income to grow significantly, focus on growing your ability to deliver disproportionate value. This one habit changed everything for me. I stopped waiting for external validation or permission to be valuable. I just started adding value wherever I could, in small, consistent ways. Here's your action step for today, straight from the description and the core of this idea. Identify just one small way you can add slightly more value in your current job or business today. It doesn't have to be monumental. It could be offering to help a colleague who looks overwhelmed, spending 15 minutes organizing shared information better, writing a clearer summary email, or tackling one small task that needs doing without being asked. Do it. Don't wait for permission. Don't announce it with fanfare. Just add that layer. And then, critically, try this for a week. Repeat that action tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after. Watch how these small, consistent layers start to build. You're not looking for a single leap. You're building an unshakable foundation of value. Section 7. The Valley of Disappointment. All right, let's talk about a phase in any growth journey, whether it's finance, fitness, or mastering a skill that is absolutely brutal. It's something I call the Valley of Disappointment. This isn't a feel-good part of the process, but understanding it is key to actually achieving long-term success. Here's the raw truth about compounding, consistency, and why most people throw in the towel. The initial phase feels like you're running on a treadmill set to maximum resistance, going nowhere. You're doing all the right things. You're saving that small percentage of your paycheck, even when it feels insignificant. You're spending an hour each day learning that new skill. You're hitting the gym consistently, eating right, or publishing that regular content online. You're putting in the small, consistent effort, day after day, week after week, and you look around and see almost no results. It feels like you're planting seeds in the desert. You water them, you tend to them, but nothing visible sprouts. This is the heart of the valley of disappointment. Your effort feels wasted. Your progress seems linear, agonizingly slow, or even non-existent. And this, my friends, is the point where the vast majority of people stop. They look at the minuscule growth in their savings account after months, or the lack of abs despite weeks of training, or the zero engagement on their content, and they conclude, definitively, that small steps don't work. They fall prey to the myth of the big leap, believing that success must come from a lottery win, a viral moment, or some sudden massive stroke of luck, rather than the patient accumulation of consistent action. They revert to waiting, wishing, and staying stuck because the consistent path felt like a failure. Here's the surprising counterintuitive insight that shifts everything. This feeling of frustration, this lack of visible progress in the early stages, it is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you are exactly where you need to be for compounding to work its magic later. This period of minimal return for maximum effort is normal. More than that, it is necessary. Think of it like charging a battery. It takes consistent power input for a long time before the battery is full enough to power something significant. The effort you're putting in during the valley is building the crucial, invisible foundation. It's building the habit, the discipline, the skill, the capital base. This isn't just a financial principle. It applies everywhere. When you learn a new language, you spend weeks sounding like a total goofball before you can hold a simple conversation. When you start lifting weights, your strength gains are tiny initially, and visible changes take months. It's the test of your commitment to the process, not the outcome. Can you keep watering the seed even when nothing is showing above ground? Can you keep charging the battery when the meter barely budges? The cause-effect clarity here is simple but powerful. The effort you expend during the valley is stored potential. It's the nonlinear energy required to build the base of the exponential curve. If you push through the valley, if you just keep showing up and doing the small, consistent things, the results eventually seem to appear overnight. People see your sudden success, the financial freedom, the physical transformation, the thriving business, and think, wow, they got lucky. They don't see the years spent grinding in the valley of disappointment. You didn't get lucky, you got persistent. So, let's get practical. I want you to identify one area in your life, particularly relating to your finances, health, or skill building, where you feel like you're putting in consistent effort, but seeing frustratingly little or no results. Acknowledge that frustration. It's valid, it's real, and it's a sign you're in the valley. Now here's the action prompt. Commit to just one more week of that small, consistent effort in that specific area. Don't judge the outcome, just commit purely as an experiment in persistence. Can you show up for 7 more days, doing the work simply for the sake of proving to yourself that you can persist through the discomfort? This one habit of extending your effort just a little bit longer, especially when you feel like quitting, is the critical difference between those who experience compounding and those who remain trapped by linearity. Push through the valley. The other side is waiting. Okay, so you've set your sights high, maybe even mapped out the mountain you want to climb. But here's where many people stumble, and it's counterintuitive because it feels like the opposite of what success looks like. See, we are fundamentally wired to prefer intensity. We crave the big wins, the dramatic changes, the instant results. Think about it. A crash diet promises losing 10 pounds in a week. Painful, but fast. Pulling an all-nighter promises finishing that massive project in one heroic burst of effort. Even in finance, the idea of a massive one-time investment, hitting that lottery ticket, or finding that single 10-bagger stock feels incredibly exciting, doesn't it? It's the financial equivalent of a Hollywood movie montage. Rapid progress, dramatic payoff. But here's the brutal, often ignored truth. Intense, infrequent efforts are almost always unsustainable. That crash diet, you rebound the moment you stop, probably gaining back more. That all-nighter leaves you exhausted, less productive for days, and praying you never have to do that again. Those huge one-time financial gambles? More often than not, they lead to significant losses or simply fizzle out. Why? Because intensity burns you out. It's a sprint, not a marathon. You deplete your resources, your willpower, your energy, your focus, and when the high wears off, you quit. You revert to old patterns, and any progress made is temporary, fragile, or non-existent. You might think you're being productive by doing a huge financial deep clean once a year, but it rarely sticks. It feels like you did something big, but the underlying habits haven't changed. Now, let's talk about the quiet superpower: consistency, financial growth, wealth building, personal development. These aren't fueled by random acts of greatness. They're built brick by painstaking brick, day after day. Compounding, that magical engine of wealth, doesn't work on massive, isolated inputs. It works on regular, consistent contributions, allowing time and growth to work together. Think about fitness again. Walking 15 minutes every single day is infinitely better for your long-term health and habit formation than hitting the gym for a grueling 2 hours once every 2 weeks. One builds endurance, routine, and sustainable health. The other builds soreness and excuses. Financially, saving just $5 every day is dramatically more effective than trying and likely failing to save $1,000 in one go at the end of the month. Why? Because the $5 habit builds momentum. It becomes part of your routine. It lowers the barrier to entry so much that it feels almost silly not to do it. And here's the surprising insight, the real myth bust we need to internalize. Doing something imperfectly but consistently is vastly, monumentally superior to doing something perfectly but rarely. You don't need to be a perfect saver or a perfect investor. You just need to show up regularly. Consistency builds the habit. It embeds the desired change into your daily life. And crucially, it keeps that compounding engine running, slowly but surely creating unstoppable force over time. The cause and effect are clear. Consistency creates habit. Habit creates momentum. Momentum creates compounding. Compounding creates lasting wealth and growth. Intensity creates exhaustion. Exhaustion creates stopping. Stopping creates stagnation. So, how do you leverage this power of consistency, starting right now? Try this for a week. Pick one financial goal you have. Maybe it's saving for something specific, paying down a pesky debt, or finally starting to invest. Now, here's the key. Lower the required daily or weekly action needed to move towards that goal so low, so ridiculously small, that it feels almost impossible to fail. We're talking microscopic steps. Is it saving? Commit to saving just $1 today. Yes, one single dollar. Is it debt reduction? Commit to tracking just one expense today to see where your money is going. Is it investing? Read one paragraph of a book on investing, or watch 1 minute of an educational video. Just one tiny, insignificant step. Do that tiny step today, and tomorrow, and the day after. This one habit, starting small and being consistent, changed everything for me because it removed the overwhelm and built unstoppable momentum. So you've committed to the consistent, sometimes tedious steps. You faced down that valley of disappointment we talked about, where effort doesn't seem to match results, and you've kept going anyway. This is where the magic starts. This is where momentum becomes your best friend. Think of it like pushing a giant snowball up a hill. The first few pushes are agonizingly slow, maybe even rolling back a little. But once you crest that initial hump, and gravity starts working with you instead of against you, that snowball picks up speed exponentially. That's exactly what happens with your financial growth and personal development. When you maintain consistency, even when it feels pointless, you build invisible energy, and eventually, that energy breaks through and becomes visible momentum. Habits that felt like a chore suddenly become second nature. Learning a new skill or managing your money no longer feels like a forced march. It feels like you're finally flowing. Your savings balance starts growing at a pace that genuinely excites you, not just adding pennies, but adding chunks. Opportunities you weren't even looking for start appearing, simply because your compounded efforts have made you ready to see and seize them. Consider building a social media following. The first 100 followers took forever. The first 1,000, a long grind. But once you hit a certain threshold, the growth seems to accelerate. The algorithm likes you, people share your content, and you suddenly gain followers faster in a week than you did in the first month. Or think about getting in shape. Those first few weeks at the gym are rough. Sore muscles, minimal visible change. But stick with it. And you hit a point where your strength increases rapidly, your clothes fit better, and you feel a surge of energy. That acceleration is momentum. Here's the surprising insight, the one that often gets missed. Momentum isn't some sudden burst of external luck or a magical switch flipping. It's the visible reward for all that sustained, often invisible compounding you were doing in the quiet moments when no one was watching, when you felt like quitting. You weren't just pushing hard. You were building the potential energy that would eventually translate into speed. And once you hit that point, you stop having to push quite so hard. You leverage the speed you've built. You move from forcing progress to riding the wave of progress you've created. It's the difference between rowing upstream and finally turning the boat downstream. And let's be honest, riding that wave feels infinitely better than struggling against the current. The core concept here is patience yielding power. The decision you make is to trust the process, even when it's slow, knowing that every small, consistent action is adding to the unseen compound engine. A common myth busted here is that success is linear. It's not. It's often slow, then whoosh. The habit? Trusting the process over immediate results. Try this for a week. Reflect on an area in your life where you have built momentum through consistent, small actions. Maybe it was learning to cook, mastering a video game, or even just getting better at parallel parking. Hey, small wins. How did that feel when it finally clicked and got easier? How did you get through that frustrating slow start? Capture that feeling of finally getting it and applying that understanding, that mental fortitude, to a financial area where you need to build consistency right now. Saving, investing, budgeting, whatever it is. Feel that future momentum in your bones today. So we've talked about building momentum, leveraging principles that work for you. But sometimes, momentum feels like it's working against you, right? Especially when it comes to debt. We hear about compounding working wonders for your investments. Your money making money, growing over time exponentially. But there's a dark side to this powerful force. Compounding is a two-edged sword, and with high-interest debt, that sword is pointed squarely at you. Think of it like trying to run up a down escalator. You're expending energy, you're moving, sure, but you're barely making progress against the relentless downward force. That's the feeling of making minimum payments on high-interest debt like credit cards. A huge chunk of that payment, often the vast majority, goes straight to the interest, the fee the lender charges you just for the privilege of owing them money. Only a tiny sliver, sometimes just pennies on the dollar, actually chips away at the principal, the original amount you borrowed. The interest for the next month is calculated on almost the same high principal amount you started with, and the cycle repeats. It's a frustrating financial treadmill that keeps you running hard but staying frustratingly in place, feeling trapped. It feels like you're pouring money into a black hole. But what if you could flip that script? What if you could take that same powerful force, compounding, and use it to work for you, demolishing your debt instead of letting it grow? This is where the surprising, often underestimated power of making just a small, extra payment comes in. It sounds almost too simple to be effective. But here's the genius behind it. Every single dollar you pay above the required minimum goes directly to attacking the principal. That's right, 100% of that extra cash targets the core amount you owe. And because you lowered the principal today by that extra amount, the interest calculated for your next payment is now slightly smaller. This means that in your next standard payment, a slightly larger portion automatically goes to principal than it would have otherwise. And the payment after that, even more goes to principal because the starting amount is even lower. It's like a positive snowball rolling downhill. It starts small, but it picks up speed and size rapidly as it goes. You aren't just paying down debt. You're compounding your debt reduction speed, accelerating your path to freedom. Here's the mind-bending part, the true myth bust. An extra $20 a month or $50 on a credit card isn't just subtracting that exact amount from your debt total. That small, consistent extra payment is saving you the interest that would have accrued on that $20 or $50 for years to come. This compounding effect working for you means that seemingly small, consistent effort can realistically save you hundreds, even thousands, in interest costs over the life of the debt and shave years off your repayment timeline. It's compounding, finally fighting with your wallet, not against it. Seriously, It's like your money just high-fived your future self. So, here's your actionable challenge, your reflection point, your "this one habit changed everything for me" catalyst. Look at your debts, especially the smallest one if you have multiple. We'll talk more about debt strategy later, but starting small can build momentum. Now ask yourself honestly, where is there just one tiny, recurring expense in your life you can eliminate forever? Is it the daily $5 coffee run you could make at home? An unused streaming subscription you keep forgetting to cancel? Find that $20, $30, or $50 you're letting bleed away each month on things you won't miss. Redirect that exact amount, starting this month, as an extra payment specifically towards the principal of that smallest debt. Seriously, try this for a month and see the difference in your balance and your motivation. Automate it if your lender allows. Set up a second, smaller payment mid-month specifically for the principal. This isn't about massive deprivation. It's about strategic redirection and letting the magic of compounding work for your financial freedom. Attacking debt this way isn't just about numbers. It's a powerful mindset shift, taking tangible control over a force that felt overwhelming. Welcome to today's Transformation Dive, right here in the Earn Flow Zone. You know, sometimes it feels like personal finance is this complicated uphill battle, like you're juggling flaming chainsaws while trying to do long division. You hear about mastering budgeting, crushing debt, picking the perfect stock, starting a side hustle. It's enough to make anyone want to just bury their head in the sand and hope it all sorts itself out. And let's be honest, for many people, that is the default strategy. But what if there was a different way? A way that felt less like a fight and more like, well, like flow. A state where your financial life wasn't a source of constant anxiety, but a system that works for you. That's what we're talking about today. If you're ready to ditch the struggle and step into a more abundant, flowing financial reality, you're in the right place. If you're into real, actionable money and mindset content, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think and keeps this channel growing. Drop a comment with where you're watching from or your biggest money habit win, no matter how small. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. We call this state the Earn Flow Zone, and it's much more than just having a fat bank account. It's the feeling, the reality, where your financial life flows naturally, almost effortlessly. It's driven by intelligent systems and ingrained habits, not the white-knuckle grip of constant struggle and worry. Think of it not as reaching a destination, but achieving a state of being, a financial equilibrium that pulls you forward. How do you get there? By applying a principle that's surprisingly simple in concept, yet astonishingly powerful in execution: compounding, applied across multiple areas simultaneously. We usually think of compounding just with money, like interest on savings or investment growth. And yes, that's absolutely part of it. Your savings compound, building a cushion, then potentially growing through investments, building wealth over time. That's crucial security. But the real secret to the Earn Flow Zone lies in how compounding works everywhere else too. You compound your skills. Every course you take, every book you read, every new technique you practice, they don't just add knowledge, they multiply your value in the marketplace. A small improvement in one skill can unlock opportunities you never saw before, making your time more valuable, leading to higher earning potential. You compound your network. Every genuine connection you make, every person you help, every mentor you find. This isn't just accumulating contacts. It's building bridges. These connections can open doors to collaborations, job opportunities, or invaluable advice that you couldn't get alone. It's like social capital that grows exponentially. You compound positive habits. Waking up 15 minutes earlier isn't just extra time. Compounded over a year, it's nearly 90 hours you can use for learning or planning. Cooking at home 2 extra times a week isn't just saving on dinner. It's reducing decision fatigue and preventing impulse buys, freeing up mental and financial energy that compounds over time. These small, consistent habits reduce wasted time and money, creating a powerful force for efficiency. The surprising insight here, the real myth bust, is that financial success isn't about hitting the jackpot or mastering one giant, complex strategy. It's not about finding the single secret. That's the lie that keeps people stuck, chasing the next big thing while ignoring the power of the small things right in front of them. The truth is, it's about consistently doing many small, smart things across these different areas: skills, network, savings, habits, and letting them intersect and reinforce each other. Each small win in one area makes wins in others easier. Better skills make you more valuable, which helps with saving and investing, which reduces financial stress, making it easier to maintain positive habits, which frees up time to learn new skills. It's a virtuous cycle. It's not a single lever. It's a system of interconnected flywheels that, once spinning, become an unstoppable force, guiding you naturally into that state of flow. Now, thinking about the actions you've considered or committed to in previous steps of this journey. Maybe it was tracking expenses, learning a new concept, starting to save a small amount, looking for ways to add more value, or even just facing up to debt. Look at that list. Identify one area, just one, where you feel the least amount of resistance to starting a small, consistent habit this week. Not the biggest impact, not the hardest thing you should do, but the easiest small win you can do. Maybe it's spending 10 minutes tidying a workspace to reduce friction, or tracking just one type of expense, like coffee, for a week, or reading one page of a relevant book, or simply thanking a connection. Try this for a week. Pick that one thing where resistance is lowest and just do it consistently. This one habit, even a tiny one, can change everything by starting the momentum and demonstrating the power of small, consistent wins that compound. Ask yourself, what small, low-resistance action could start compounding for you this week? So as we wrap up today, remember the core idea. The earn flow zone isn't magic. It's the natural result of applying the principle of compounding not just to your money, but to your skills, your network, and your habits. It's the accumulation of tiny, smart choices made consistently over time. Think of building financial success like sculpting a masterpiece, not with one mighty hammer blow, but with thousands of small, precise chisel strokes, each adding to the form. The potential long-term benefit of embracing this: not just more money, but less stress, more control, and the freedom to pursue what truly matters. The deeper insight here is that financial discipline isn't about restriction. It's about building systems that create freedom. It's about understanding that your daily habits are literally the building blocks of your future prosperity, both financial and personal. Don't underestimate the power of the small, boring, consistent actions. They are the engine of the earn flow zone. In the end, your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around. Section 12. You see the power now. The big leaps, the dramatic overhauls you see in movies or on highlight reels, those are often just myths, or the rare exceptions that prove the rule. True, sustainable progress, the kind that actually builds wealth, grows skills and carves out freedom, comes not from those infrequent, massive efforts, but from the relentless, almost boring, consistency of small, smart actions compounding over time. Think about it. It's the tiny snowflake joining others that creates the unstoppable force of an avalanche. It's the single seed planted and nurtured that becomes a sprawling forest. It's the first dollar saved, then the next, and the next, consistently, that truly becomes a fortune over years and decades. This process demands patience. It requires faith in the unseen growth happening beneath the surface, like roots deepening before a tree visibly shoots skyward. And yes, it often requires a willingness to look incredibly small, even insignificant, at the very start. Who gets excited about saving $5 or learning for 15 minutes? Very few people initially. But what really happens if you ignore this fundamental lesson? You stay trapped on the metaphorical hamster wheel. You keep chasing the dazzling quick fixes that promise overnight success but deliver only disappointment. You'll burn yourself out with unsustainable bursts of effort that inevitably lead to crashing back to zero. You'll feel perpetually stuck, watching from the sidelines, while others, the ones who quietly, consistently did the small things, steadily pull away and build the life you desire. You'll keep waiting for external permission, for a mythical surge of motivation, for the right time to make a massive, overwhelming change that never actually feels possible. And tragically, you'll miss the immense, often underestimated power that is already available to you every single day in your seemingly mundane choices. Here's a simple truth that might just surprise you. A real myth bust for the instant gratification generation. The belief that you need massive motivation before you can take action is backwards. Often, motivation follows the action. You don't wait to feel like going for a run to put on your shoes. You put on your shoes, take a tiny step outside, and then the momentum and often the motivation builds. This is true for finance too. You don't need to feel overwhelmingly motivated to become a millionaire to track your first expense. You track the expense, see where your money is going, and that knowledge fuels the desire to manage it better. The takeaway here is simple, yet profoundly impactful. Your financial future, your personal growth, your entire earn flow zone isn't determined by the few times you do something epic or feel incredibly inspired, but by the countless, consistent times you choose to do something small and smart. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to take a giant leap. Start right now, today, with just one tiny step. So, as we wrap up today, let this be the one big idea you carry forward. Consistency in small actions is the true engine of growth. The potential long-term benefit of embracing this? It's not just about building a bigger bank account. It's about building discipline, resilience, and unshakable faith in your own ability to create change, one deliberate step at a time. It's about replacing anxiety with action and overwhelm with steady progress. It's a deeper insight into how real transformation works. It's an inside-out job. Your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around. Your final action, right now, today, is to choose one of the simple actions we've talked about, or perhaps a similar small step related to your money or growth goals. Any one that resonates most with you in this moment. Just one. Don't overthink it, and commit to doing it. Will you track that single expense? Will you spend just 15 minutes learning a new concept? Will you automate a transfer of $10 to savings? Will you simply open that budgeting app you downloaded months ago? Do that one tiny thing today, and then just try your best to do it again tomorrow. That's not just how compounding begins. That's how momentum builds. That's how you quiet the noise and start building your own sustainable earn flow zone, one small, consistent step at a time.